Buster Keaton did not plan to be on that balloon. He was helping the launch crew climb to the top of the balloon to affix a pennant, and it cut loose while he was up there. Now it was his problem. He spent the whole film trying things that didn't work, losing the girl, losing the plot entirely. At the end, the balloon saved him. He even turned this thing into a canoe balloon type contraption, but you have to see the Balloonatic film to believe it. He never explained what he was doing, he just kept going. I've watched a lot of Buster Keaton this year, and I think I understand him a little better now.
Nobody was quite sure what an airplane ought to look like, or sound like. The Albessard was a two-wing plane with the two wings in a rather unusual position. A French critic called this the most chic airplane in the make.
I got my private certificate about 5 years ago. I kept going no matter what. It is the going anyway, the going especially when the rational part of your mind has assembled a reasonable argument for stopping. The thing about learning things later in life is, by midlife you've spent decades getting very good at knowing and also knowing when to quit. You can smell failure before it fully arrives. That instinct, which has served maybe most of you well in other areas of life, becomes the main obstacle to learning anything new. The whole game is staying in it past the point where quitting looks like a reasonable thing to do. Late last summer, my friend and CFII, Erica Gilbert, offered me an online instrument ground school course. And I said yes before I even finished thinking about it. It was neat because it wasn't just a course, it was an actual cohort, and I would have people to be accountable to each week. Well, accountability started quickly. I was the worst student in the class. Everyone else had a grasp of the material with what seemed like no effort. Here I was drawing hold entries backward over and over again and needing to ask the same question twice, 3 times, and needing help between sessions that nobody else seemed to need. Instrument training is antithetical to how I think. My whole life has been creative work, mostly in the abstract, work with no sanctioned procedures to memorize. And here I am now being asked to memorize sanctioned procedures. I just kept going. The material eventually became more clear, and I even passed the written exam before the class had concluded its series. Something had shifted in my mind. My brain was working again. I had momentum, and momentum is its own argument, I think, for continuing. I may have gone a little over the top. There's nothing I like less than FAA knowledge tests, but here I was, in the groove of studying. 5 FAA knowledge exams in 32 days came out of that momentum. I started with the instrument written test, then took the instrument ground instructor test, then the fundamentals of instruction test, then the commercial written test, and the AGI written test. All done within 32 days. 32 days that felt like eating raw broccoli every morning and pretending that I love it. I did not love it, but I got through it. There's something else that happened in that stretch that I haven't figured out how to talk about yet, so I'll just say it plainly here. Last fall, I took a flight and was in Huntsville, Alabama at Huntsville Executive Airport. I had just finished a flight with a friend and we were parking on the ramp, pulled up next to an Aztec. It's a really beautiful plane. We got out and I saw the pilot there getting his plane ready and we started talking. He and his 2 daughters were at the beginning of their trip to Montana, heading out to meet their mom, his wife, who was already there waiting for them. His older daughter was a CFI, and I believe he mentioned that she was a Delta cadet. Bright future ahead of her. The younger daughter, just about to graduate high school, was there too. They had their dog with them and everyone was in a good mood, and they asked me to take a picture before they left. I took a few and said goodbye and went on my way. 2 days later, I'm sitting at home and I find out that they went down near Condon, Montana, icing, engine failure. The father and both daughters and the dog did not survive this crash. I found out the way that you find out about things now. I sat down to just watch whatever the latest Blanco Lirio video was, and the first image that came up was the photo that I had just taken of this family. Slack-jawed, I just stared at it for a moment. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. They were just looking at the camera. They're laughing at something I said. It's very possible the last photo of the three of them together. What I couldn't stop thinking about also was the mother. She was in Montana waiting for her husband and daughters and the dog to arrive, and her entire family was gone in a moment, somewhere between the mountains and where she was waiting for them. It was very surreal. I'm not sure what you do with that. What I do know is that it changed the register of everything that came after for me. The written exams, the approaches, the weather study, all of it. You can know the theory about what kills pilots, icing and terrain and pressing into IMC. You can know all that and still treat it as an abstract until it's not. I carry that with me now every time I brief a flight. It doesn't mean that I'm afraid. It just means that I have maybe a more permanent and grounded connection to how seriously I take all of this. That family was so vital, and I had only just met them in passing. I won't be the same for it. Time passed, I got all my exams done, and now it was time to get to the practical training. Then I got a lucky break. My friend in CFII, Ben Lehman, he was also my tailwheel instructor, offered for me to be his first instrument student. And I thought, wow, this is exactly right. We can learn together, and we did. He coached me while he was learning how to coach me. We debriefed each other. We did long cross countries, tons of approaches, and got all those finer adjustments done. It wasn't easy. At some point I asked him, how close to check ride ready do you think I am? And he said 90%, and I was genuinely shocked. I had myself at maybe 50%. I had been so focused on every mistake. But these are the mechanisms of progress. The only way you know you're making progress is that the mistakes change. They become different, smaller, less frequent. Part of what kept me serious about all of it, more serious than I might have been otherwise, was knowing weather's not an abstraction you read about in a textbook. It's a decision you make or fail to make in real time with real consequences, and I studied it that way. Come February, I passed my instrument check ride, and I couldn't believe that I had done it. It was the hardest I'd ever studied for anything, but I passed. Not long after, it was a welcome time to do a little bit of fun flying, and we went to Victor Bravo Tango, Bentonville, Arkansas, and joined up the Midlife Pilot podcast fly-in called the Thaden Invasion. And we had people come in from all over the country. We did a live podcast from the FBO.
Welcome to episode 172 of the Midlife Pilot Podcast, where we share the experiences and challenges of flying in midlife.
Welcome, welcome. I'm very excited to be here for many reasons, but I'm just going to go ahead and I got to get this one thing out of the way. Is that okay?
Go.
All right. Last fly-in, we were at Tango 82, and our friend Lewis over here, sitting right here in the front, he was relentless on me nonstop about me getting my instrument rating. And I, motivated purely by spite, have accomplished that by the next fly-in, so that when Lewis showed up, I didn't have to have a whole other conversation about why I still hadn't done it.
Going on vacation, right? Because the day leaving, there's 9
I had my instrument rating in my pocket for the first time on this trip, and that felt different. And what struck me more than the certificate was the ramp full of people who had all found their way to aviation later, most of them careers and kids and decades of other obligations, and who were all still there. Most people are there not trying to make the airlines. Most people are not there time building. They're there because this is the thing that they chose on purpose, with full awareness of what it costs in money, time, study, humility. It's a specific kind of person, the midlife pilot. They don't need to be sold on aviation. They're already sold on that. What they need is someone who understands that they are not a blank slate, that they have a whole life behind them that informs how they learn and what they need to hear and when they need to hear it, maybe a little differently. They need an instructor possibly who came to this the same way that they did to fully understand them. That's who I want to be in a learning cockpit environment with. Luckily, there are many instructors to inspire me along the way and show me what teaching really is. After getting back from the fly-in, I began my commercial training, learned all the maneuvers, relearned all of the private pilot things that I had forgotten. It was a little bit more challenging for sure than I thought it would be, but I got through it. I think what I was most grateful for was that the instruction that I got from my commercial instructor, she told me, I'm not going to teach you the ACS, I'm going to teach you how to be a professional pilot. And she did. I learned a lot. Not long after that, I flew to Monroe, North Carolina, and the infamous DPE Ron Horton told me that I passed. Ron has 60 years of flying behind him. He's someone who's seen everything, which means that he's also seen through everything. When someone like that gives you an opinion, it's not encouragement for its own sake. He's got nothing to gain from saying things that he does not believe. He told me that I should go for my CFI. He said aviation needs people like us, midlife pilots who teach for the love of it and come to it with a respect for it rather than a stepping stone to somewhere else. I paid attention.
We definitely need more midlifers as CFI. That's why I'm trying to encourage you guys to do that, because that you have a knowledge base that these young students desperately need, and even the older students too. But it's the people who I think struggle the most are people who are trained by an instructor who spent their entire life in training.
I told Ron that I wanted to honor his 60 years of experience in aviation by taking to heart the lessons he taught me and paying them forward. As a result of all the exams I had taken, even prior to all these check rides, I had started giving ground instruction. Being an advanced ground instructor is a real certificate with real utility. My first student was Chris, a bit of a proxy version of myself, a filmmaker, photographer, very talented, private pilot in the making. I learned quickly that teaching is definitely not explaining. It's understanding how another person receives information and translating the material into a form that their mind can actually wrap around and use. It's a really different skill. There are plenty of people who know the material. There are far fewer who understand why it's not landing. Midlife students are not blank slates. When you bring that whole life of yours into the room, you've got professional pattern recognition and real stakes and a specific impatience with things that don't make sense yet. You can't run through a generic curriculum with a midlife pilot and expect it to hold. I know that because I was one of those students. And I know too that the stakes of getting this wrong are not hypothetical. It's real. And this is something I want to pass on without making it too heavy, but it's just true. There's a philosophy that I've been working on, I think, inadvertently in the last year, and I didn't name it before I started, but I named it somewhere in the middle of it, which is fitting. This philosophy I call trip, fall, succeed. There's so much in hustle culture about the grind, and I think it's ridiculous. I think that you just pick a direction and you go, and you just trip and you fall and you succeed. It's not a process with tidy little stages and gains It's more of an unruly but fairly predictable weather pattern. You trip on something you didn't see, you fall in a direction you didn't intend, and at some point, not always when you expected it, something succeeds. That thing that made you trip is often related to the thing that ultimately holds you up. Buster Keaton never stopped. He didn't have a plan. He had a direction. So now I'm a commercial pilot with an instrument rating, an advanced ground instructor, instrument ground instructor, and now my CFI is in progress, and I'm targeting, hopefully, early fall, probably winter. Next week, I'm getting my spin endorsement, and I'm looking for ferry work and owner-assisted flying in the interim. Any pistons that need someone current and instrument rated and willing, you know where to find me. I've alluded to this before, but a checklist is a dialogue between the pilot and the airplane. And what I meant by that is flying is not something you do to a machine, you do it with a machine. Every pre-flight, every run-up, every instrument scan is a conversation, a question and answer, and the airplane tells you what it needs. If you look at the weather, it will tell you. If you look at the gauges, it will tell you, and you just respond. This conversation goes on for as long as you both agree to keep it going. The last 6 months have been a conversation I didn't even really fully understand that I was having. I definitely made small corrections throughout the whole thing, and some of them were even the right ones. I'm still not sure I understand all of it, but somehow this has all landed for me, at least to this point, and it's enough to keep going. I think about the family that didn't make it to their destination in Montana when I say that. And I think about what it means that I get to do this. So, trip, fall, succeed.